COVID protocols and cinemas. What is up? So cinemas have been one of the first establishments to close since the initial lockdowns began in March of this year. However, they were only briefly opened in June for 3 weeks. Following that, they were given permission to open at 50% capacity on October 26th, but without concession. Movie operators found it was unfeasible to open up, so they chose to remain closed. They finally got permission to open with concession, and their doors have been open since November 11th at 50% capacity. So the plan is to go to our 4 main cinemas and measure their compliance against our local guidelines. So I'm going to start with Caribbean Cinemas 8 and walk through my experience in conjunction with the Ministry of Health's guidelines for cinemas. So the things that I'm going to be talking about do not include behind the scenes operation, things like cleaning and training of staff. I'm going to be talking from the vantage point of a guest, of a member of the public, and essentially it's to guide things that you should look out for when you go to the cinemas. So just a quick apology. The footage within the establishment is really poor, but I hope that you get what I'm trying to communicate with it. So let's go to the Ministry of Health's website and get their protocols for cinemas. Cool. So this document is the June 2020 version. Where possible, set up glass screens at concession stands, box office, and other areas. Good day. Where possible, set up hand sanitizer dispensers at specific areas, especially entrance, box office, concession stands, inside cinema, and exit. Thank you. Good day. Oh.
You want to put it left first on your right?
Left, this one.
Put it left first.
Okay. Good day.
You good into that?
Yeah. Thank you. This way. Okay. Thanks. Where possible, use non-fabric seating covers. Provide disposable or single-use items, but if you can't, ensure proper disinfection of items after use.
The only way to survive is if the pack stays together.
In such a dangerous world, I worry about my family too.
Post visual alerts at entrance and in strategic locations like the waiting area, elevators, etc. about hand hygiene, respiratory hygiene, cough etiquette. So this is signage. Good day. Give it to me. Thank you. Ensure pre-show announcements are made for hand washing, physical distances, locations of the washrooms, and entrances and exits. Ensure 6 feet spacing of workers and patrons at box office, concession stands, and other points of sale where service is rendered. Seating within the cinema should allow for 6 feet distance between family or groups of patrons on either side and skipping rows. Ushers to monitor and maintain physical distancing.
Years ago.
We happy meet you. Thanks.
Oh. We are the veterans.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
All persons are required to wear a face covering when entering the premises and be screened with a contactless thermometer for fever. I'm really sorry. During my visit, I did not go to the bathrooms at CC8, so I don't know what the measures were in there, and I apologize for that. So here's some of the things that I think they got right. All staff could be seen wearing their masks. There was adequate signage throughout the facility on the touch points that were listed in the guidance document. Their physical distancing measures were experienced in the theater, in the seat selection, in floor markers, so that's definitely a good thing. I also saw physical distancing between staff members. There were single-use disposable items used at the concession stand. Crowd control measures were in place, and when I talk about crowd control, it ties in with physical distancing, but it's more so to do with the flow of traffic. However, due to the extremely low turnout in the cinema, I couldn't really see the full extent of their ability to control a crowd. In the entire theater, there were 3 persons. Felt like a private screening. Like a literal private screening. Contact and touch points were limited also. Something as simple as having a door left open or someone opening the door for you. The ushers did that, which was a good touch. Well, or lack of touch. With the good comes the bad. And here are some of my suggestions for areas for improvement. I did not see any hand sanitizer stations at the ticket booth, concession cashier, condiment, like their little napkin condiment area to the side, or entrance and exit to the theater. And these were all strategic and specific points outlined in the guidance that hand sanitizer stations should be placed. This one is not so much an area of improvement, but maybe a suggestion could be marking the seats so that you actually know. But the downside of that is if a group of 5 people sits in the theater and the markers are for 1 person, what's been the norm so far for churches and other places is family groups or groups that came together, households, whatever the case may be, are permitted to sit together. So probably that's not good, but I just wanted to stick it in any event. But the biggest thing for me, there was no temperature screening. I could have walked in there with a boiling hot fever and they would have allowed me to go in and look at a movie, and that should never be the case. A thermometer, a measuring device for temperature, is listed in the guidance, and I think if you have nothing else, have a thermometer. People walk with hand sanitizer in their bags, but some of them are not aware of temperature. I mean, I've been to places where I've walked in the sun and come into the establishment and read a high temperature. The business establishment has every right to deny me entry into their business place. I mean, discretion is used, obviously. You take the reading on another part of the body, or you allow yourself to cool down and then come into the store, but omitting that form of control, I think, is a really dangerous one for cinemas. Coupled with that, the only thing right now that may be saving cinemas is literally the low turnout. I went to see a 2 o'clock movie at CC8 and I felt like I was the only one there. There were more staff members than guests. I don't recall seeing anyone at the concession stand. Only when I entered the theater did I see the couple that was in there. And in one way it's good. The chances and likelihood of the virus being spread would be greatly decreased. But I'm really worried about the theater industry in Trinidad right now. Okay, so that's it for my short and sweet review of the COVID protocols for Caribbean Cinemas 8. I will be going on to South Park, the other newer Caribbean Cinemas franchise in the country, walking through the guidelines in the same way. So stick around for that video. In other news, my blog website is live. So go check it out, www.thehonestguest.com. It's supplemental content to what I'm talking about on YouTube, but I hope you learned something anyway. This comes to the end of the video. Do what all YouTubers would tell you to do. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to. No obligation. But stick around for part 2 of this series of movie theater reviews for COVID-19 protocols in Trinidad. And until next time, bye.